Hey, so we
I be feeling like Lauren, what her name, on the Breakfast Club around here. Hey, viewers, good afternoon, good evening. Okay, good night. Bye, y'all. Oh, boy. Yeah, we need to have fun tonight. There's enough stress in this world.
Right.
We got martial law in Washington, D.C. We need to talk about that.
You think so?
Martial law in D.C. It's a test. Let me not do that. Because I don't want the FCC coming up with some conclusions. Because it's under that kind of brigade.
Okay. Want to say good afternoon and once again welcome to. Hey, let me just go ahead on and say it. One of the hottest talk shows on coming out of
the community talk show. THEEV.
When I say hot, it's hot. I mean, you think last week was hot. I mean, my God. Listen, open your windows, open your doors. Smoke is getting ready to come out of the kitchen. We are sitting with two powerful voices, State Representative Galen Franklin and the Executive Director. But we just talk about the Executive Director. Keep it right there. Hey, but listen, so much is going on real quick. Let's do a little 30-second recap. We don't want to be long. We're talking tea that's happening in Tallahassee.
The tea is national.
But let's talk Tallahassee tea right quick.
Right, okay.
Tallahassee tea. How is it that in the same day, Jeremy Matlow files to run for mayor, and in the same day, our mayor, John Daly, decides, hey, I'm tired of running, can't be a professional mayor in the same day, talking tea.
Is coordinated to me? Look, I'm here for it.
I mean, I was just saying to myself, and I know it's not, but allegedly, I'm just speaking out loud.
Hashtag allegedly.
Allegedly. It was ironic. It happened in the same day.
I'm just saying, but why was it ironic?
I mean,
I think that it was a great coordination of news cycle impact, right? If he would have made the announcement like Wednesday, it would have seemed reactive. So to do it in the same news cycle, I think was very coordinated. I think it was very seamless.
Coordinated on that.
I mean, on both. I think it was reasonable for them both to release that so that one can establish and one can establish. I think that in the minds of voters, in the minds of people who are getting cranked up for 2026, there was just this kind of instability. Like, what's going down? You know, people were kind of.
Okay. Well, it happened, and certainly want to give big shots out to our mayor, John Davis.
Yes.
I mean, just amazing work.
Yes.
I mean, he's done some amazing things throughout his tenure, and certainly we can't take that away. I'm sure there comes a time when you get into this political life that you're away from family, you're away from home, and, you know, everybody's getting your attention. So I'm sure that, you know, being able now to take a breather and spend time with family would be amazing.
What a great example. Because, again, he made the statement, I don't want to be a career mayor. I don't want to, you know, continue to be mayor. That's not how it works. Representation is not stagnant. It's dynamic. And so you should have differences of representation to fit the energy that's going on in the community. You should give voice to people and leadership opportunity to people in the realm of change. That is responsible servant leadership. And so I think that it was a good coordinated. I don't know if they planned it that way, but it was very coordinated.
Just taking in consideration history, I don't think they planned. But however, we just talking tea in Tallahassee for a few more seconds. Certainly, I want to say wonderful kudos to Mayor John Davis for the service that he has shared
and has led the community to another All-American City designation.
Absolutely.
I was at a meeting yesterday at the Utility Citizen Advisory Committee, and they said that the strong point was their city sustainability plan, which has been actively in progress through several administrations and was actively elevated through his. We saw a lot of programs, a lot of public policy, a lot of great things happen from planning, right? And so I think it is important to just recognize that. They were recognized for the Southside Action Plan and the things that went down with that public participation process.
Okay.
Talithia was there. We'll talk about that in a minute. We'll bring it on in. But I think that you have, and he guided us through our bicentennial celebration in effective fanfare, got a huge equitable minority participation, cross-sector.
We don't need to swallow the tea. Just sip
Sometimes
it.
you just got to take the sweet tea and you got to push. We're pushing up negative narrative. We need to push some positive narrative, and that's where we get this moment to do this. So I'm done with my tea drinking moment.
And no. We still got.
What else you got? Okay.
It was just amazing to see President Marva Johnson and Dr. Robinson together cutting the ribbon on the new dome.
700 residences, and we talked last week about the week before last with Dr. Bill about the population explosion at FAMU, and people don't know that in 2021. FAMU only had like 6,700 students. And since 2021, 2022, they have exploded. It went to 8,500 students. And they didn't have adequate housing on campus to facilitate old buildings. People had a whole lot of stuff to say about tearing down those buildings, but they needed that space to be able to house students within a mile radius of the university. They took those steps. And yesterday they celebrated another increment that students will have housing. They're going to be begging the market to find because stuff ain't affordable rent.
But in the meantime, let's celebrate. 700 more.
Yeah.
Hey, okay, now on another note, we got to wrap this up because we got two amazing guests in here. But I want to give kudos to Mayor John Daley. Mm-hmm. Certainly, I want to give kudos to Jeremy Matlow, who talked about it and actually did it. There are a lot of people who are talking about running for mayor, and they're getting surveys from a lot of people. Should I not? But he actually did it, and so there are still those who are out there talking allegedly that are going to be running. I don't know whether Christian. Did I say his name? I just said Christian. We own a Christian radio show, so I don't know whether the Christians are going to run or the matter. I don't know, but allegedly they're talking about it. But he actually did it. We just sipping tea. You don't want none of this tea, I see.
No, I don't have anything to say but run. Right? We want to be positive about this. We're glad people want to run.
Absolutely.
All right. And we're glad that he finally filed because he's been working
to do it.
To do that.
And there are others.
It hasn't been a secret.
And there are others who have been quietly engaging. But if you're gonna do it, do it. Also, give a big shout out to Representative Allison Tant on her legislation for human trafficking awareness.
Win-win.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And
which is commendable, right? Because as we are going to talk to our guest today, it's like it's a percentage of Democrats in the House and in the legislature.
Right.
And so to get things done that represent the consensus of community and being a D at this point, it takes some posturing, it takes some finesse, it takes some, work. And so she is working her space and making impact happen. And I kudos.
Absolutely.
Kudos.
Hey, listen, and big shout out for the county on yesterday.
The fire service people?
Yeah, the county attorney and the commission decided that they just wasn't going to be bullied. Did I say bullied? When it comes to what was happening with the city. Anyway, great job for the county leaders. Brian Welch led that conversation. And they came to a resolve. Okay? Listen, I just got a text. And they said, hey, listen, this is the Greg James Community Show. The words that I say are my views and my opinions. They have no affiliation with the station as a whole. Okay.
And we're gonna get some T-shirts printed #allegedly.
Allegedly.
We'd like to order one. We'll make sure we put a link out there for you to order a T-shirt and allegedly T-shirt.
But the thing about it is, as we get ready to dive into the show, if we didn't have the conversations that we have, it wouldn't shake your consciousness to say, hey, let me see exactly what's going on. So we're excited about that. Well, listen, I'm excited about our guest today.
Yeah.
Let's get ready to talk Tallahassee. Let's get ready to talk politics. Let's get ready to talk community engagement. And joining us today is none other than a powerful young man who's working in the state legislative, none other than the District 8 State Representative Gallup Franklin. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Thanks so much for having me on the show. Great to be here.
Hey, listen, it's been a while. Your schedule been so busy.
A little bit.
We're grateful that we was able to catch up with you and get you here. And in front of you, decked out in her orange and green.
In her orange and green is the executive director for Good News Outreach. And we're going to talk about some other things she is a little bit later. But we are so glad to have my sister on the streets, community compadre, Miss Talithia Edwards. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. So glad to be here. Anytime I can be here with you all is wonderful. So thanks for having me.
So I want to do this right quick. It's not going to take long. I'm going to just give you a word and you just give me the response that comes to your mind real quick. People.
The most valuable asset.
Community.
Gotta love on them.
Politics.
It's for everybody. Inclusion.
University.
Promising future.
And that's what it's going to be about today. You heard those words. We're getting ready to dive into a conversation that's going to encompass all of that. The most valuable people, promising people. It's for everybody. That's what it's going to be about right here on the most talked about show in the state. And we get into the nation.
All right.
Because we get ready to talk about martial law. We're not going to talk about that. It's happening in DC.
No, okay. It's a good opening. I think it's a good, this is why I think it's a good opening conversation, right? Because we know that the nation's capital city is also known as Chocolate City, right? And so when you have a siege on Chocolate City by the federal government, who has couched themselves in a very interesting agenda, it don't look right. It doesn't look right. And then when you talk about government, which we understand, right? Government has jurisdictions, meaning that there's things that you handle on the state level that you don't necessarily get involved with on the county and the municipal level, right? And so I think that what we're looking at here is really a test, right? But it also bridges into our conversation today about courageous leadership, right?
Absolutely.
Because we have to understand that we have checks and balances in government for a reason, right? It is to prevent what? What they were dealing with in England with the king, right? It goes all the way back to the pre-revolutionary issues that was the birthplace of this nation. And so now we're seeing a president, and let me look at the other side of this now, because there's some people that are giving him the amen and high five. Because if you look at a lot of surveys nationally, DC is constantly ranked as the most unsafe city in the nation, right? And so, you know, we have lived through the 80s and the 90s with DC and government and issues. So some people are saying we need to change the narrative of DC, and this is the way to do it. Is this the way to do it? Now, how does that apply to us in Florida? How does that apply to us in Tallahassee, right? How do we ensure that we have local leadership that is courageous enough to address issues and to address those things while remaining in check? Because you better check yourself before you wreck yourself, okay? Because bad government is bad for your health. So I'm not a rapper, but I play one on TV. So I open this up, Pastor, and I say to you both, change, man, it's happening. It's happening all around us. The way we do things, the way we deliver citizen services, the way that we understand our public budget, the way we understand our role in ordinance as governments, right? Where do you see the rapid shifts happening locally and statewide? And knowing those, how do you personally define effective leadership in these changing times?
So me, let's do it. No, there's a lot happening. As you know, the boundaries are being pushed at every level of government.
Yes.
And what you're seeing in DC essentially is the president saying, hey, I'm gonna fix this problem. And as you know, it's not about what you do, it's how you do what you do. And so to your point, there are boundaries that we have to ensure that tyranny can't happen. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a great idea to make sure you're cutting down crime, putting the bad guys away. I get that. Everyone agrees with that, right? But it's how you do it. And then the question becomes, if it's a pilot, what happens when that same federal government's now in Tallahassee, Orlando, Tampa, Miami? Then what happens when someone gets in and flips the script, right? Turns on that light switch and decides now they're coming up because we said Trump's name, they're arresting us right now. right? And so there becomes like an infrastructure you can tap into and really control who your political opposition is, right? And so that's really the dangers that we're dealing with. I'm not saying we can't fight crime. Everyone wants to have a safe neighborhood. As you know, the economy can't grow if it's not safe.
Yes.
Kids can't play in their neighborhoods if it's not safe. And so we have to take that seriously, but it's also to make sure it's happening at the local level. And local folks, they get that together. My good girl over here is running for city commission for a reason, right?
Mhm.
I mean, my bad, I put you down, but she jumped in though, right? She put her name on the list.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I mean, because she sees what's happening in her community and she wants to make sure you be a part of that change. She's not calling, Uncle Trump to come fix Tallahassee's problems. She said, no, I'm gonna get in the ring myself and get it done.
Mm.
Wow.
Mm.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that we are right now romanticizing a lot of national politics, right? And really sifting them in. We're in a state capital, which is mimicking, at least trying to mimic a lot of what we see nationally. But it's really sifting down into our local communities, which is scary, to be very honest, right? Because we don't have the same protections, right? We don't have the same resources. And when you begin to use these public safety tactics, right, this scare kind of mongering down on the ground is really a ripping apart of communities. We're not thinking about how that is breaking up infrastructures, economies, and communities and families, and what that looks like, schools and friends and families and neighbors and churches. We ain't thinking about it on that level. That's the level in which us as community people have to think about it. How is this affecting the mother of the child or the corner store up the street? We have to think about those things, that these big broad strokes of things that happen in the name of justice and getting back to some form of democracy that we lost, right? That is a pseudo improvement. Is we got to look at it in chunks, and I think we're looking at it in this big pie, and I don't think that's the right way to do it.
And that's a good point she mentioned too, because at the same time, you got to think about like education, right? Early childhood, like what's the quality of a K through 12 system? What opportunities we have for career technical education? It's not just about going after and getting rid of the criminals, but how do we make sure criminals don't become criminals, right? So as you know, at the end of the day, no one's going and robbing a bank because it's cool and fun. No one's going inside of Publix and stealing some tomatoes because they just think it's cool. No, it's because they're hungry, right? There's a need, there's a desperation that's happening. And if you don't provide opportunity, economic opportunity above ground, they're going underground for it, whether it's selling drugs, you name it, right? So what she's talking about, which I agree with, is not just about, okay, how do we make sure we're safe and make sure that we safeguard our communities, but how are we also investing in the early stage of people's lives and our, of course, recidivism rates and everything else to make sure that people aren't committing these crimes.
Right, and that we're so focused on preparing what could happen nationally that we're forgetting about the resources on the ground. That's part of what I'm thinking about, that I see this kind of preparation for in reaction to what's happening nationally, and we're ill prepared on the ground. Yeah.
And I want to piggyback off that, because I think that it's important that people do understand that a lot of the human service aspect that we're talking about, education, early learning, all of those things, many of those are federally funded. And because there's an attack on different agencies within government that is causing issues with those funding flow throughs, and now because it becomes an issue for local government to solve in the absence of those resources. So I think it's really important for us, because we lining up our listeners, they're not community nerds like us. They listening to what we say, but we need to make sure we make it plain, right?
Yeah.
So Talika, you talked about, and you as well, Representative, early childhood education and the impact it has on basically crime and safety, right? Because by the third grade, if you don't have certain capabilities, they already make a bed ready for you in the correctional, right? So talk about, as a leader of an organization that houses and provides restorative and rehabilitative programs for ex-offenders, for those who are re-entering society, and others, what changes have you seen over the past years, and how have you as an executive leader in this space adapted your approach? And then piggybacking off of that, what state resources are available to undergird this mission of bringing out the potential of those who may have been incarcerated?
Right. At Good News Outreach, we literally serving the least, the lost, and the last, right? And since I've been there, I've really thought about it in in a network system, right? Not a one organization housing 5 programs, but how does this network of programs fit together? So individuals who are we have mostly housing, right? It's 5 programs. We have our Mercy House program, which is our men and women reentry program. We have the Maryland Oaks property, which is the transitional affordable housing for families. We house seniors, so we got the full spectrum, and we have a 1,200 square foot food pantry, right? So that's a full spectrum. Any way you enter on that spectrum, you can, on that in that network, you can actually go through. And so what I'm seeing, our funding right now is really localized to Tallahassee. So we're not feeling those big impacts, but we are still in critical areas that aren't being defunded, right? Reentry, housing, hunger, homelessness. We're not seeing that. But because other things are straining, we are feeling the strain because they're pulling from the places that are defunded by the national money over here. So we have less money to work with. So I can serve less returning citizens, right? I'm literally dealing with a housing issue where I'm trying to rehab housing units. I got a 24-person wait list, and I got 17 vacant units that I'm waiting on funds so I can get these units back online. So it's a perpetual cycle. You take from one thing and you're literally pulling from another, right? I'm not defunding housing. I'm still funding reentry people, but you're not funding education. You're not funding some other things. So we are pulling and pulling over here to make that up. And this here is like we're low on resources. And so we're trying to keep the ecosystem going, but it's difficult.
Yeah, and the Department of Justice space, as you know, we've been working hard to make sure there's funding there, where there's training that can happen in the actual jails. I'm proud that now even Gaston County brings in a school so they can get their GED or high school diploma before they're released. Also, Leon County starting soon. I know Jefferson County does it as well. And so, in addition to that, locally in Leon County, I got a bill passed that actually helps lower the cost of healthcare for the detention.
Oh, wow.
Right. So what happened was before, if you weren't inside the network, a provider could charge whatever they wanted to charge. Right. So I passed the bill that caps it at 110% of the Medicare rate. So oftentimes we think about, okay, someone might have done something bad and they're serving their time. But like you said earlier, right, people are the most valuable asset we have in this country. At the end of the day, if we're not investing in people, it's going to be much more expensive after that. I hate to say this, it is cheaper to send somebody to college, right?
Than it is.
Than it is for them to be in jail automatically. On top of that, the productivity is lower. Now people in the community are scared. And so when I do see a lot of these strong conservatives that talk about, oh yeah, pick yourselves up by your bootstraps, we don't want social programs. But when they become criminals and they come knock on your door, let me know what's up, right? When you open up your business that you get robbed and you can't even, now you have to shut down because no one's feeling safe enough in that community, you got to go move somewhere else. What's up, right? So at the end of the day, it's all cyclical. So beyond DOJ, you talked about housing, and the state legislature, we do fund the ship and sell programs, the My Safe Florida Home program as well. 2 years ago, we tripled the funding for the ship and sell. That kind of helps folks do some of the rehab stuff she's talking about. Even though it's funded through the local government, the state government really provides them with those dollars. And we also did something called a Live Local Act. So we're trying to expand the amount of housing inventory that's happening. So really speeding up permitting, right? Really giving some incentives and tax incentives to make sure that people can come in, build faster and build more homes to create more competition, bring down costs. So some of the things we're doing in the housing space too in the legislature.
And if I can add a piece to that, the piece that I see missing in my role here is we're funding homelessness and we're funding home ownership or pathways to home ownership. We're missing the transitional space. Those who need what I'm calling a breather, a space where it is affordable. I'm talking about real affordable. I get it that we measure affordability by 30% of your income, right? But no, I'm talking about individuals who are exiting homelessness or who are employed, enough, but can't afford $1,100 or $1,200 rent. I'm talking about that transitional space where it's temporary. It's written in our state statute, 18 to 24 months, where a person can breathe and can begin to save and to begin to learn new tools and really retrain the mind and create new paradigms around poverty and shifting spaces. We aren't funding those areas. And that is where we're seeing people fall back into these cycles and not be able to progress like they really should be able to progress.
I think it's important you bring that point up because even now on the federal level, which we talked about federal impact on local realities, they're thinking about some of the public some of the public discourse was to limit the amount of time that folks could be in Section 8 housing.
Mhm.
So that means that they will give them a 2-year time to be actually in public housing. And then after that, they will have had to do what they needed to do to get to sustainability to be in the open market. But me knowing the open market,
Too expensive.
yeah, right. So I think that point is very well taken. And you talk about a over list. We have over 3,500 households on the housing wait list.
Yeah.
So when you talk, it's a real issue. Housing is a real issue. And I think that the ideas that have to be brought to the table, because stable housing aids in what? Law-abiding citizens, because the folks you see in stable housing, you can see a great parallel between that and criminality. So with that in mind, because I think this is really important, right? Representative Flakeman and definitely Talitha, if y'all want to chime in, from a legislative perspective, with $1 billion surplus on the state government level, what recent change in Tallahassee or the state that you feel will have the biggest impact on D8 residents?
So with the $1 billion surplus, as you know, we could be having a deficit pretty soon, right?
Sure.
But I do believe we got to make sure we're investing in education, early childhood, also housing. And we're not investing in those spaces like we should as a legislature, right? Where I do focus is things that I file in the budget process, what I can have control over. And so we fund things like And My Kids. I got them $1 million of recurring revenue this last session. So now for the rest, hopefully the rest of our lives, they'll get $1 million a year for Leon and Gaston County. That program is helping to intervene in the lives of young people who might not have the most supportive home structure, right? Beyond that, 2 years ago, we got $3.6 million to build a new Boys and Girls Club, right? So what I try to do, there's also something called holistic plan of care. They deal with folks who are having, Dr. Barbara Reddick, deal with folks who are having issues with addictions, different, right?
Yes.
Coming out of jail and needing some help as well. So making sure that there's some support and resources for those folks as well. So those are the kind of things that I champion in the legislature, that I've gotten funded through the process to help out, our local society. Now, when you talk about the bigger legislature part, I'm not the Speaker of the House, right? So unfortunately, I can't make us spend the additional $2.5 billion a year in education that we should be spending. I wish I could, but I can't make them do that. But what I will tell you, the legislature leadership is talking about is there's some concern over a deficit pretty soon. I mean, as you know, the economy is starting to be stagnant, looking at having a decline. In 2 or 3 years, we're going to go from a surplus in the state budget to a deficit, probably between $3 to $6 billion. And so at the same time, they're starting to sock away more of that surplus into basically a savings account, like a rainy day fund, for when that does happen. Because, healthcare is also a big part of our budget, too.
That's right.
The two most expensive parts of the state budget is healthcare and education, the biggest ones, right? And as you know, what's happening at the federal level, where we have, of course, some of those premium tax credits being taken out, which is a big issue. We have Medicaid cuts coming as well. So we have a lot of uninsured folks here in Florida. Mm-hmm. So now as a state, we have to start kind of navigating how do we make sure people have access to healthcare as well.
That's right. That's good. That's good.
Well, let me say this to Lethea, and then Representative, you might want to piggyback off of this. In the role that you're in, I know prior to that you was definitely involved in community engagement, advocating, being in this new role and realizing some of the challenges that are being that you're having to deal with, that you see. And as you stated, Representative Franklin, you're championing matters that really hit the street real hard when the rubber meets the road. How do you forecast where you think you'll be, considering what we're looking at on the state level and even on a local level with funding when it comes to sustainability?
Yeah, I'm always hopeful because I believe in God. I'm gonna just be very honest in how I view it. But this is the conversation I'm having with my board. We cannot depend on all local funding. You can't depend on all federal funding. You got to diversify your funding. You got to find ways in your organization to add value that somebody will pay for that value, right? What does that look like? And reevaluate your programs over and over and over. And I'm gonna be honest, I come into the nonprofit space as a community advocate, right? As a leader, I cannot take that lens off. Like I had someone say there was now you got a community leader. I'm very proud that I come in with a lens of understanding the need and understanding what it takes, that this not having this, what it means for people now and long term, right? And so I don't apologize for that, but I do feel that tightness of, oh my God, we're talking on the local level about CHSP and United Way. We already know those fundings have been decreased, and we've been talking about changing categories or whatever the things. So funding is changing on a whole lot of levels. And so human service organizations need to begin to think about what is a revenue generating stream that I can create within my organization that adds value, not just to us, but to the community, so that I can sustain. And if not, how do I then pull back? Right? If what I'm doing is not working or won't be funded, how do I then restructure? Because that's an important thing to think about. We can hold to mission, or we can flow with the times to be impactful for what's needed, where it's needed.
Right. And Representative, when you think about Good News Outreach, there's so many small nonprofits who really, serving without being able to get into the budget or without being able to submit appropriation, but yet they're out there doing it. And I know you champion so many causes, but how do, we get legislators to see that these are the people who are really making the impact?
That's a good question. I think it's important that the local folks who aren't engaged in the process yet to have metrics, right? So, hey, these are the things that we're doing. This is the investment we're making. These are the milestones that we're measuring up to, and this is the return on that investment, right? And so when you have that kind of data, you can bring that to folks like, well, hey, we actually deserve to get funding because we are financially sound. Obviously, our books are in order. At the same time, this is the impact that we're making based off this data and statistics. And I believe, what I'm working on now is trying to create like a consortium where basically, as you mentioned, there's so many organizations that come from social service and funding. But if there's a way we can fund a consortium, and that consortium then gets to fund different folks over time, that might be a more streamlined process, because it can be daunting. Everyone can't hire a lobbyist. Everyone can't fill out all this paperwork and we got to submit it. There's a whole process in place. So to your point, how do we get more innovative? I think is a good idea to make sure they can still have funding to be successful.
Yeah.
Because, I think on a national level, what we see nationally, and I think we know that all politics are local. And since we're now heading into an election cycle, and I think it's so important for our community to know they got to get more engaged. I mean, if you're talking about looking at restructuring, hey, how we do things as this nonprofit, what you think churches are doing? Because these are the same people that are supporting the nonprofits. These are the same people that are showing up at church giving.
Yeah. We're expected to raise these astronomical amounts of money, right? And people are deficits in their own pocketbooks, right? So they're trying to figure it out. So it's a lot of pieces, a lot of moving parts.
But you get a good point though, because even in the church, most of that money comes from people giving them the money, right? And I always thought, why weren't churches more into the economic development space to get revenue from businesses generated revenue to support their ministry? And so at the same time, the nonprofit space, I think we got to get more innovative. It's like, hey, now when you run a nonprofit, you better be a business person too, and figure out where you can make investments to now have an operating business and now be able to sustain your services, what you're doing.
I was reading a really interesting article about Mission Creek, and some of it was talking about the level of need when nonprofits and mission-oriented organizations were formed, and how now they have said that it is a 700% increase over historic mission based need in terms of funding. So back in the day, organizations didn't need a whole lot because they didn't have a whole lot of people they needed to help, because the culture wasn't based upon this kind of concept of dependency in the way that it is now. Now, because obviously there's a lot of need, it creates this issue, right? And so I think, to your point earlier, we do need to have data. We need to show where we've come from. We need to show the why. Why do so many people need? Why is there so much need? Why is it that people can be generationally in need? Why, and so I think we need to have real conversations about human development, because you can't fund
You're right. a lifetime.
Right.
To
Okay.
that, I might get in trouble for saying this. But I will say, you do have to hold people accountable,
Okay.
right? I can't just keep giving and not expect something from you. And so that's the problem we have too.
And then you said something, why can't we have real conversation? The question is, do people really want to have real conversation?
Probably not. I heard someone say we did a needs assessment and nobody liked it, so we didn't use it. What the heck does that mean? Right? Like part of the issue, I mean, you brought it up about, so many people in need. We do a needs assessment and it tells us where the needs are. And we say, screw that because I don't like it because I'm not in it.
And I'm not a part of
And you're not a part of it. So we don't like it. So we're not going to do that. In the reality, if you're going to move the needle, you have to focus in. I would love to see focused funding. If early education, you can never stop funding early education. You need that all the time, right? So
everybody.
So you need that for everybody. So I'm using this as an example that is a mute example. But if we have focused funding, you think about education is what I'm going to focus for 5 years because I need to move the needle here. And I put my resources, and you know where your job in that measure, you know where your job, and we all driving to the middle. And that funding is resource for us to drive to the middle. I guarantee in 5 years we're gonna be able to move the needle because guess what? We're all hyper focused. We're all hyper focused on where we're actually going, and we know where we're going, and we know what lanes we're in. But right now, mostly we wake up and we jump in the lane, right? We're just jumping in the lane, and so that's the part that is causing a lot of issue. And all good ideas don't make good organizations, right? Don't make good use of funding. It's a whole lot of things. I see people wake up with a good idea and they want a nonprofit. I'm like, who's doing that? You could go volunteer over here. And we're struggling with volunteer. I know we're not going there, but I see that a lot. You start a nonprofit because you want to meet this need. This organization is doing it. Go volunteer with them.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the major problems that we're having. And I think we're at a critical time. And this is a time whereby if people have an awakening, they'll realize that, hey, you know what? We're serving maybe 10 or 12 people. It's a struggle for us. Good News is doing the same thing. Why don't we just shut down and let's join in? I mean, and if we learn how to do that as people of color, if we learn how to do that, I think it will give inspiration and it'll give a lot of hope to our communities as a whole.
They have a name for it. It's called collaborative impact.
Collective.
It's a collective. It's a whole like name.
But
yeah.
Okay. Do we understand that name?
No. And see the interesting part. Collaborative is the grandchild of collective impact.
Okay.
Collective impact deals with several agencies working in sync to address a common issue and to measure common impact. Collaborative takes it to the next step where we say, okay, you doing this well, we ain't doing this so well. Let's come together and do it together well, right?
Wow.
But the issue is that people like their islands. They like their domains, and it causes a problem with funding because now you got to look at this and be like, well, dang, didn't you just see this somewhere else? And why are we looking at this and looking at that? What?
Because they don't understand it.
And they both get 3, 2, 1.
How you getting understand?
They don't understand.
What are we doing?
Christine gets the money. So say for instance, this is I'm using housing now, y'all. Just did education, I'm using housing. We are in the housing ecosystem. Christine is in the homeless space. I'm in the transition space. You're in the affordable housing space, and you're a funder. You fund Christine. Yeah. You fund Christine. Christine, I got some housing space. I'm in transition. I got availability. You got people in your homeless camp that you have been giving money to find houses for. Christine, give me some of that money at a higher rate, a little bit, because you could fund them at about $1,100 a month. I'm only charging $6, but I need some operational dollars. So give me 10.50, and I'm gonna house them. You're doing whatever you're supposed to do, case management, however that is. I'm offering my programming. I have now made them stable through programming, through people who are working and doing what they've been paid to do. With this population, they are coming and surrounding them. They have now become stable. Guess what, Greg James? This person is ready to begin the home ownership process.
Now they can come.
Now they coming. They still here. They still stable. They still safe. They still got resources if something happens, but they walk in the line to get to you, right? We don't think about it. That's collaboration. That's not in my budget. I hadn't even planned for it, but you got an issue. I got an availability of space. And now we can collaborate. Your dollars is helping my mission. You are doing what you were giving your dollars to do, and the client got served. And they got a road to progression.
But my mindset tells me I don't want to help you.
Lord have
Well,
mercy.
better than that, the person that she's helping don't want to move on.
You gotta have a process.
I'm comfortable. This is great.
You gotta have a screening
I want to go
process.
pay my own rent, my mortgage.
Yeah.
Lord have mercy.
And if I'm Talithia, if I turn them out, that's gonna be bad optics because that
Oh,
person
big
gonna
time.
make it seem like, oh, they kicked me out of my Florida. Listen, it's a mess.
But I
It's
think-
a hot mess.
But I think it goes back to people perish. And I'll throw this in because we are on a
Mhm,
gospel station
mhm,
called Hallelujah.
mhm.
People perish for a lack of knowledge.
Right.
And I think if we begin, let's talk about you being at Good News. I mean, I've heard of Good News. The first time I really got involved was because you was there making the clarion call. I'm at Good News. I don't know who was there before, but it doesn't matter. But I'm saying, I got involved. And to my point, Christy, is that people have to be made aware to become inspired, to become involved.
I think you're right. And I think to his point, people got too many options. And you used to didn't have that many options. If you were in a situation and you had a time frame, you did what you had to do to get out that time frame because you knew you, and if you had children, your children had to have somewhere to land.
That's exactly.
I think that as we have this conversation, this is real, like, because this factors into representation, right? Because we bring this to the stage and the seat and the house and those things. We bring this understanding is hard, right? So let's have a real, let me ask, I don't want to ask these some nice foo-foo questions. I want to ask this, all right? We talk about policy on paper versus policy in practice.
Right. Say it 2 more times.
Talk to me about a well-intentioned change that still faces real-world challenges, implementation challenges.
Homelessness.
That's your one. Access to healthcare.
Why? Why?
For access to health, I mean, a whole lot. We don't have the providers. We don't have the nurses, the doctors, the enough folks to even provide the services. Also, the payers, the incentives aren't in the right place. So, for example, Florida still has not expanded Medicaid.
They don't want to.
And the Affordable Care Act allowed a big gap of folks to be covered through Medicaid expansion. And Florida won't touch it. I mean, you've got Republican states across this country that has done it already, but Florida hasn't touched it. So that's just one example where you have some ideological stuff where you have other Republicans that do it, but for some reason, the leaders here in Florida are completely against it.
Yeah, and it's red tape. I'm gonna be real with y'all. When I went to South Africa, they had all that red tape. You got a nurse, you got a doctor, you got somebody sick. Them people serve the people. It's the red tape that we created. So we put the policy on paper, and we can say it very nicely. We write it out. We get that little description. We can go online and read it. But the red tape causes us not to be able to do it. Your license got to be to say you got to do this, say you got to do that. And so therefore, we are not able to serve our communities the way we need to. Yeah, the resources ain't flowing the way it needs to. But think about how many nurses, if you said on a Saturday, I will, on your off day Saturday, I'm going to open this clinic that already exists, is already licensed, already whatever, and we're going to treat these kind of people with these issues on this day. I know where I could go. I know these people. They're in my neighborhood. I could walk to it. I don't add no red tape to it. How many people will come and be served? Probably more than we think, right? But these are the problems that we create the policy, and then we create the red tape within the policy. Mm-hmm. And because of that red tape, we are not able. We created something good, access to affordable health care. We got shelters, but not everybody. You still see the people outside the shelter. Why? Because there's red tape in that. Oh, if you've been here, if you come from out of the county, you got to do this. If you come from out of the state, you got to do that. If you've been here for 60 days, you got to do this. It is so much, and I'm not saying accountability is not issue, but there's red tape within the policies we create that causes not everybody to be able to be able to access them.
Okay, so program inefficiencies understood,
Mhm.
right? Because that's really what we're talking about. We're talking about policy on paper and then the inefficiencies that kick in with implementation, right? As a representative in the House, I want to ask you this question because the House is different. I mean, what's the percentage of Democrats in the House of Representatives right
Yeah,
now?
man, we got 33 out of 120.
33. Y'all know fractions? Is that even 1/4?
Mhm.
I don't even think that's a fourth. He called it a super minority. I've never heard nobody call it a super minority before. It's a super minority up in there. Like all 33, y'all can fit in the picture.
Yeah. We
Listen,
got to get to 40. I think 41 gets us out of the super minority.
have mercy.
And we're 8. We're 8 Democratic members away from getting out of the super minority.
Wow.
But yet, $1 million to AMI.
I mean, we brought home
But
$31 million this session. I mean, we got another 13.5 for Gaston County K through 8. We got some money for FAMU. We had the law school, security hardening. We helped get some operational enhancement funds, TSC as well. $3 million for a Gaston expansion. And also, of course, public safety is a big thing for me too. As you know, there's something called ISO ratings when it comes to the fire ISO ratings. So we always get trucks for like Gretna, Midway, Havana. They've been a new police station, fire truck, Concord. So we go and we kill the game and the funding space. We got 3 bills done too. And so to your point, I want to say this too. I'm really proud that in total. So in my district, we also help folks get grants and access grants and money.
Yeah.
And so Peter Schwartz came out. Peter Schwartz, the guy that does all the capital stuff, came out with a graphic. I'll show it with you. We got the most funding in our district out of any Republican and any Democratic House member.
Say that again.
We got the most funding for our district out of any Republican and any House member in the Florida House of Representatives at $250 million. And that was beyond what I filed. It was also stuff for funding that comes in through grants, organizations, universities, all that as well.
All right. So, I mean, great job. And being in a super minority, how do you navigate
How do you do that?
through
That's right.
what's there?
No, that's a good point. So people will love to see me on top of the table, right? Streaming, cursing people out, right? Acting how, a lot of folks act. And I'll tell you, there's Democrats that get no bills passed and bring no money home, right? And so you have to treat it like you would treat any other business or professional environment. I can't walk into Talitha's office, curse her out, right? Call her everything but a child of God, call her a racist, an Uncle Tom, you name it, and then come back tomorrow and say, hey, Talitha, I need $1 million for my kids on the South Side.
I'm not gonna get it.
Now, Talitha would give it to me, but
Maybe.
but anyone else is gonna be like, nah, Jack, they'll lie, but oh yeah, we'll look into that for you. We'll take a look at it. It just won't ever show up, right? So you really have to be very strategic. I say to serve in the Florida House as a Democrat and to be effective is much more difficult than being a Republican because you have to walk this tightrope where there's a landmine on each side of that tightrope. You have to be very strategic and build our relationships, knowing when to say what and still stand up for your folks and still get things done, right?
And I think that's so important because I think what we are able to see from the outside looking in is just all of the hoorah, all of the cussing. And at the end of the day, as you say, nothing gets done.
That's right.
You just destroyed your whole district because it's how you interact with people. And people are people, whether you're Republican, Democratic,
Humans
Independent.
are humans.
And at the end of the day, if you can understand the heart issue that I'm dealing with,
That's right.
and you got the golden pen, and you hear my heart, and your heart is working as well, then I'm gonna win.
And the people you serve in.
People gonna win. Yeah.
Yeah, the people. I'm gonna win so that people can win.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, the people that, and nothing against the shouting, but typically that just serves them
Right.
because that elevates their profile,
Right.
that makes them more popular. They can now run for the next position. But people who are effective, like Allison Tant or myself, that serves the people that we actually went there to
And that's why you're there.
Absolutely.
That is the point. To bring it back home, and the impact is felt in your district. That is the point.
And that's the key. I mean, any person that's in office, the ultimate goal is when the session is over, how much, as they say, how much bacon did you bring back home? And congratulations for an amazing session
Definitely.
because it was definitely difficult. I've got several and representative friends who are Democrats, and they like, can we pray today? Can you pray for me today?
Yes, sir.
Because why? They know how important it is to go in and just study to be quiet and don't get caught up in what everybody else is doing. So congratulations on that. Hey, listen, we got about 8 minutes left. I want to get to something that is interesting.
What you want to get to the good news?
Now, let's talk about the good news. Let's talk about the bad quick, and then let's talk about a major question that I want to ask. You got something you want to say, Fred?
I was just gonna say real quick, agitation still is important, right?
Yeah,
So it's good to have activists who are on the Capitol front steps.
Oh,
who
absolutely.
Are raising their voices, because then now you need agitation for negotiation.
That's right.
Like, hey, Greg, you see these people out here, bro? They coming for you.
Yeah.
So we need to get this done, right?
Absolutely.
So agitation still is important. So I want to say that that's not important, but there's a role
For
for that.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Totally
That's
agree
good.
with that.
That's good. That's good.
I mean, you can't be in the legislative 100% Jasmine Crockett.
Not in Florida. You do that in DC because
Yeah,
the
not in Florida.
because the power changes, right? The Democrats might take it back over in 2026, and then now she's fine.
Yeah.
But in Florida, there's no rotation, so it's like
Yeah. Okay.
You gotta be careful.
Let's talk about what's happening. Big event.
Big event, August 28th at 6 p.m. at Goodwood Museum is the Good News Outreach fundraising dinner. So we're switching it up. It has been traditionally a breakfast for the last 20 plus years. This year it is an evening event. Come in, please. Tickets are $75 individually. There are sponsorship levels. You can find that on our social media Facebook page at Good News Outreach is the Facebook page, or on our website at www.goodnewsoutreach.org. So I would love to have you all there. Support you all do support in many ways, but this fundraiser is so important because the Maryland Oaks Crossing and our Mercy House program is the big programs that we are looking to have some major change in. And so I really need sponsors. I've been really pushing for sponsors because that is where we're going to move the needle. Ticket sales, do we want you there? But those sponsorships are going to bring those big dollars in and going to help us really move these programs along. So thanks for.
So what's the fundraising goal for this? Just so that we can speak it out in the
Yes.
atmosphere. What's the
Definitely.
fundraising? What's the number?
The number that I'm shooting for, and this is the realistic number, if I go on past, is about $60,000. What I'm looking for is about $100,000.
Okay. And 100,000 will do what?
$100,000 will completely renovate Maryland Oaks that is vacant and occupied units. It will give a remake also of our Mercy House homes where we house our returning citizens. It has not had a makeover. It will update the furniture, really provide some dignity to those individuals that are coming in to have their own space, new supplies and equipment, all of those things, because it's all about dignity. When you're serving people who are coming from not having a lot of means, dignity first is important, right? I could talk about getting you stable and financial advisement, but you want to sleep comfortably, right? I want to wake up in a place. I want them to wake up in a place that I will be proud of. And people may not think that's important, but I do think it's important in the psychology, specifically where you're having people exiting homelessness and those who are exiting the P-Down system. So,
That's right. That's right. And so if you're listening out there, Pastor,
That's right.
and you got $100,000 you want to stroke a check for, she's telling you that basically they have apartments for returning or citizens that are re-entering society, whether it be from incarceration or it be through mental health, homelessness. And they also have homes in Maryland Oaks that are now not in use because they need to be repaired. And to have particular properties and have facilities that can actually be utilized by families that are in need of that base of affordable, accessible housing is a critical need. So that is what we're talking about here, $100,000.
Right. And when we talk about diversified funding, so the big thing, everybody like, oh, you want to get houses, just sell it. No, the big thing is that if we are able to get Maryland Oaks up and running, it will generate enough revenue to feed back into the organization to run the other programs.
There you go.
That's a self-sustaining program, and that's an important thing when you're thinking about where we're going with these funding deficits and defunding different places. That's an important piece of the puzzle, and you're thinking about long-term sustainability, right? This is a mobile home park, so we really need to be thinking long-term sustainability. So it's a lot of work to do, and I can't do it alone. The board can't do it alone with some great staff, but we all can't do it alone. We need the community to come in and join with us to do it.
Well, you know, I was just thinking, Christy, the last time we did a over-the-air fundraising initiative, I think it was for shoes, back-to-school shoes?
Oh, yeah.
Or was it for something? No,
It probably
I
was
know
a-
we did that, and we did one for something else, but I think we generated over the air from all of our listeners for back to school. I think we turned in almost 4,000 or 5,000 maybe.
Yeah, we were able to connect folks with folks that could give them, and I think that's the key here,
Yeah,
right?
so I
Because
think-
again, people don't know
Right.
what they don't know,
So-
and if people understand what you're doing,
Then
they can plug. Yeah.
So this is, hey, golly, this is really, I just sat here and wrote this. This is really going to be a big faith step for me today. And we're going to put together we got 2 weeks to do it. Just from our show alone, we're going to challenge all of our listeners. And we got about 15,000 of you. And we certainly appreciate all of you. For the next 2 Wednesdays, we're going to be able to get all of our listeners to give to Good News. We'll come up with a goal by the time we get back on the air on Wednesday. But I want you to think about it. Google Good News Outreach. Look at what they're doing. You heard Miss Talithia Edwards talking about the work that they're doing. We're going to take the next 2 Wednesdays, and that's going to be our time for our community that listens to the show to support this initiative. We're going to create the model for how we work together to make it happen. So we'll work on that. And that's going to be our contribution on August 28th. We're going to have a check.
Yes, that's what I want you to come on with it. That's what I want you to come
Yeah,
with it.
we'll figure out the logistics.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We got 2 weeks to do it 2 times. And
That's
so
1,000 people at $100.
1,000 people at $100. Okay. So I said, okay, so we'll figure it out. We're going to figure it out.
Figure it out.
And for those of you who heard it today, go ahead on and start, figuring out where you're going to take a little bit from. You won't go out this week and spend a whole lot at Top Flight or the Shriners or the Moon.
It's a faith-based radio station. Maybe
And
you give your benevolent offering over
They
there.
have money. They have money.
Wait.
You want to get you those snake skin shouting shoes
Wait,
this weekend.
you
You
don't-
give it over to the Mercy House.
You don't think the faith community got their
I don't
boots
even
on
want
the
to think
ground?
about the faith community with their boots on the ground. I'm
Okay,
like, look,
listen. All right. Well, let's talk about with the last final few minutes that we have left. Let's talk about what happened. Well, let's talk about this, Representative Franklin. The idea to run for office. How did that come about? And then we're gonna see how did it happen here. Was it fearful or?
No, absolutely. I mean, as you know, jumping into any political office is tough. It's just because there's so much unknown. You don't know what's ahead of you. It's almost like starting a business, right? And so I commend Talithia actually. I mean, she didn't call me or text me, right? I don't think she called you.
No, she didn't. Yeah.
Exactly. And so what I commend about that type of courage is she said, you know what? She knows she has the ability and the capacity to do good for her people, right? And when I say her people, I'm talking about all of the city of Tallahassee. I'm not talking about her neighborhood, but for her neighbors across the entire city. And she said she's going to make the sacrifice and put herself up in public, right? As you know, and when you're in the public, they're going to start calling her everything but a child of God. They're going to try to pull out some skeletons that never even existed.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to hear everything about Talithia, but she's willing to take that on to make a difference, right?
Wow.
And it's hard to do. So when I did it, just like other people have too, it's frightening. There's going to be times where your stomach is tight. You feel like you want to barf, right? You want to throw up. You wake up multiple times saying, what in the world did I get myself into? And why am I doing this? And you're going to have so many of those. Talithia, why did you do it? But just always remember your why. You're in there to make sure you can increase the quality of life of those you love in this community.
Wow.
Stick to that, sister girl, you'll be fine.
Wow. What a way to let our listening audience know who is joining us in the position that she just filed from.
Mhm.
Why don't we hear from you now?
Mhm.
Whew. It is most of what he said, right? The time is here. I'm doing the work. Not I've done the work. I'm doing the work. I'm doing the work. And the opportunity is here, and I'm ready to serve. Right? I feel all of that, and I woke up yesterday morning, and I was like, I'm doing it. Right?
Wow.
And once I told Fred, it was like, you went by yourself. Like, wait a minute. Like, what are you doing? You have a community, and I'm like, yeah, because if I'm gonna do it, I gotta know I'm in it. I believe
That's
and I
good, that's
believe that there are people who support and love me, and those are the people I'm gonna need to fall and cry and all the things that I know that I will experience as a candidate. But I am ready to lead this community in a well-balanced way that brings us together, that really focuses on the needs of the community holistically. There's over 200,000 people in this city, and as a city commissioner, I represent all of those people, right? You have to be balanced in a way that understand that anything that doesn't grow dies, right? So you need development. I still care about the things of homelessness and affordable housing and education. I care about those things. What are those things in my purview that I get to impact? And that's what I want to tell the story. This seat is an open seat. No one owns a seat. This is democracy. It is now an open seat. So I will be telling my story, sharing who I am, the work I've done, and what I hope to do if the people of Tallahassee decide to elect me as the next city commissioner.
Wow. Hey, listen, I'm so glad that we were able to hear that. 15,000 people throughout the city of Tallahassee and other areas heard it just now. Talitha Edwards, she is a candidate for city commissioner for 2026.
Mhm.
No one's on the seat. It's open. She just woke up. She did it. She didn't have to get a motion in a second, and she just did it. And I want to say to you, hey, listen, you have been doing an amazing job, and there's no better way to serve than to serve in a position to where by now your voice can really impact the decisions that take place in our community. With the last minute we have left, Conscious Chick, what you gonna say?
I think we are talking about courage, right? And I think that courage has to be cultivated and has to become acculturated. I think we lean on one person to be courageous. We don't have space for one person to be courageous. Everybody has to strengthen and put their belt on and do whatever they have to do to get out there and make sure that they're making a difference for their families, and they're translating the difference they're making for their families with differences they make on the community level. So I encourage you as you take this step. And I encourage you too, because you got to run again too next year. Don't you?
Every 2 years.
You got everything.
Oh,
That's so
already?
crazy. That's just
Yep,
gangster.
I'm on the same ballot.
Yeah, I mean, and so you're getting out there, but I think that the call to action here is courage is not just for folks who are in political office. Courage is for everyone. We all need to show up. At the city commission meetings, when there is something that comes up with ordinances related to neighborhoods, there are groups that send 200 people. All of them have to be courageous. They are opposing what's happening. And guess what? Consensus is going to win. There is still strength in consensus. And so I look forward to hearing the agendas. I look forward to hearing the victories. I remember when you first ran, people were like, what are you going to do? And now you're able to share what you were able to do.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of politics. So run. There is virtue in the run. There is virtue in the one. There is also hope and capability in the victory. So we're going to push that out in the air. And we're going to continue to make sure the issues are transparently dealt with here on this show. And we're going to stir you all to continue to be brave and courageous in the spaces, because we need that. We all need to be brave and courageous.
Thank you.
Amen. And on that note, courageous, the fire service fee exemption for those churches, please, we were in a meeting on Monday night. It's been declared according to Florida statutes that a religious institution is used as a place of worship shall be exempt. And I have so many churches in our community that's on this list. You are paying fire services fees. Some churches only are paying $800, some paying $1,200 a month, some paying $5, some paying $148. There was a meeting for you. So listen, if you want to know or you get a call from me and you're on this list and you're paying, there are churches who have hired an attorney and the city has reimbursed them for well over 100,000. So I'll be contacting some of these churches that's on this list that are paying that you probably don't even know you're paying, but you're going to have to be courageous because they're not going to take your church from you if you file to say we want at least 4 years of what we have been paying. Because if I don't want to call the church to get their money back, then God forbid. All right.
Well, I just want to close out again. Ms. Doris Strong, one of our listeners, texted me to say that when she went to New Orleans a week ago to see what a real trauma recovery center looked like, Gallup Franklin sent his aide on a Zoom to be in person as she did that, and she commends you for that. So listen.
Wow. That's what it's all about. Wonderful. And that's what it's about, making sure that the people in the office can connect with the people that's on the ground.
Thank you, Ms. Doris, for sending that. That's what we need to do.
And Ms.
Encourage
Doris,
enough negative stuff. When they doing good, say
I
they
said
doing
doing
good.
good. All right. Well, listen, it's been an amazing show, and we're a little bit over time, and hopefully we won't get another invoice for being a little bit over time. But however, it's been amazing. I want to thank our beautiful guests for joining us, State Representative Gallup Franklin, and the candidate for City Commission, District 3.
And Executive Director
of Good News,
which has an
upcoming event August 28th, and we're getting ready to launch a major fundraising rally right here on the Greg James Community Show. Until next week, hey, y'all be blessed and walk in the favor that God has called you to walk in.
You guys did a really good job, man. You guys be killing it.
Yes,
You got the personality.